All right, good evening, coaches. My name is Alan Means, and I'm with the Glazier Football Clinics, and I just want to welcome everyone to tonight's webinar. We're honored tonight. We have Coach Paul Hubbard. He's the defensive coordinator at Mid-America Nazarene, and he's with us to present on 3-4 blitzes and pressures, when to use them, how to use them, and why to use them. So we're excited about that tonight. You guys are in for a real treat. First of all, I just want to welcome all the coaches that have never attended a Glazier webinar before. Once the speaker begins to give his clinic talk, you'll be able to see his computer screen and be able to hear his voice through one of two ways, which I'll explain how to use in just a couple of minutes. Most speakers use a PowerPoint presentation to make the webinar a little easier to follow. And then also I just want to make everyone know that we're aware that all updates and changes to the webinar speaker schedule will be updated on Facebook and Twitter. When changes come to the schedule, we want you guys to know about it. Before we get started, I want to go through a couple quick messages with you guys. Our webinar title sponsor is Close the Gap, and we know that Glazier Clinic coaches like you are tuned into your athletes' health. To help support you, the Glazier Clinic has partnered with Close the Gap, an educational initiative focused on eliminating disparities in cardiovascular care. Together, we will help educate you and your staff on the appropriate screening your athletes should undergo to determine if they are at risk for sudden cardiac arrest. Just visit www.glazierclinics.com and look under the Coaches Resources tab for the Close the Gap page to find out more about how you can help. Also, guys, the average high school football player receives 650 blows to the head every season. Hundreds of former NFL players are suing the league for long-term effects of the concussions and head injuries they suffered while playing with the helmets, very similar to the ones our children and players are wearing today. It's time to be proactive. POC Ventures took that step and created the Guardian Cap, a one-size-fits-all soft-shell practice helmet cover that is lightweight, doesn't absorb water, and acts as an insulator against heat. The Guardian absorbs a portion of the impact produced by helmet-to-helmet contact, and testing shows that wearing the Guardian can significantly reduce head injuries criteria. What are you going to do this season to protect your players? They have a limited quantity available for 2012, so first to order will get the product. Order today for July invoicing. Call today to order your Guardian caps at 770-667-6004 or visit their website at guardiancaps.com. Guys, there's two different audio options for this webinar. The first option is by your computer speakers. This is the default option, and most of you guys are probably already listening to us through your computer speakers. The second option is by telephone. You can click on the audio portion of the control panel and click on that telephone radio button, dial the number shown, and enter the access code when prompted. Sometimes there's better sound quality with the telephone, and it also allows you to ask live questions. So there's a couple benefits to that, but if you're listening through your computer speakers, then that's just fine. So no worries with that. Guys, the season pass, if you're a season pass holder with Glazier, you have access to Glazier Clinic Online, which you can definitely use when the on-site clinics are not going on. Glazier Clinic Online has over 190 archived webinars. It also has over 50 instructional videos, over 900 sets of clinic notes, and also archived e-clinics. If you don't have a season pass with us and you want to try it out, you can have a free 3-day trial of Glazier Clinic Online. Just email Aaron Coughlin at aglazier@glazierfootballclinics.com with your name, school organization, and state, and he'll set you up with a 3-day free trial. Okay, next, guys, also included in that season pass are big discounts from football vendors. You can see this complete list at glazierclinics.com. Those are just a few of them, but that's also included in the season pass for you guys. Guys, since 1968, football coaches have been training drills on Rogers equipment to help teach player fundamentals while protecting their athletes by limiting the amount of live contact and giving them the confidence to practice with game day aggressiveness. Rogers understands that championships are made long before the game begins. By partnering with football coaches, Rogers has developed a revolutionary line of strength training equipment for off-season training that builds football strength. No wonder that most serious football players train with Rogers Athletic. For more information, just visit rogersathletic.com or call 1-800-457-5337. And football coaches have trained youth, high school, college, and professional champions by making Rogers Athletic football training sleds and dummies an important part of their practices. Football drills on Rogers equipment help coaches teach player fundamentals while protecting their athletes by limiting the amount of live contact. Our blocking and tackling sleds offensive and defensive shoots, and football dummies. Give your players the confidence to practice with game day aggressiveness. We also supply all your football field equipment from goalposts to chain crew sets to give your stadium a professional look. And then the ultimate in versatility and durability, Rogers Athletic heavy-duty pendulum racks offer the largest column dimensions made with 3x7 or 3x5x7 gauge tubing to provide the utmost in strength and rigidity. This is the sturdiest rack on the market. The pendulum rack can be designed to your training preference and needs. Create power stations for various functional body weight training exercises, or add accessories to provide more drills in less space. Our large selection of modular attachments and add-ons allow athletes of all sizes and levels to target and maximize the benefits to muscle groups. Visit us online for more information and to view our complete selection of attachment add-ons. And then, guys, if you're looking for the best instructional books and DVDs, Coach's Choice is the place to go. They have a full library of instructional material from many different categories. To access these videos, just visit their website at coacheschoice.com. And then the safety and performance of your players depends on the right equipment. The Power Plus mouth guard can help keep all your players safe and in the game performing at their peak. Designed and tested by dental and medical professionals, the patented Power Plus mouth guard positions the jaw to increase strength while decreasing the G-forces impact-related head injuries. Visit them at powerplusmouthguard.com. And then lastly here, guys, we have championship coaching systems. It exists to provide coaches worldwide with specific offensive, defensive, and specialist systems that allow them to win more games and in turn championships. If you use one of their systems, you receive superior football content, phenomenal customer service, and a great coaching community. Just go to championshipsystems.com. So that's all the announcements I have. Coach Hubbard, I'm going to give you control of the screen right now, so just hit show my screen when you see that pop up there. It should pop up in just a second. Before you get started, though, I got a couple housekeeping items to go through with the coaches. Guys, Coach Hubbard would like if we could ask questions during his presentation, so that's no problem. If you see the questions section of your control panel, just type in your questions there, and we'll address them during his presentation. So that's going to be the only option tonight. Don't worry about asking live questions. We'll just type the questions in tonight. So just type them into me, and I will ask Coach Hubbard your questions. Also, you can hide that webinar control panel that's in the way there by pressing on the button on the left side of your control panel that has a white arrow pointing to the right with an orange background. That'll minimize the box and allow you to see the entire presentation. Now I'd like to hand things over to Coach Hubbard. Again, Coach, we're honored to have you. And guys, if you were not here at the beginning, he'll be talking about 3-4 blitzes and pressures. So Coach Hubbard, looks like your PowerPoint is up and you're good to go.
All right, thanks, Coach Means. Thanks, Glacier Clinic, for having me, too. Coach Hubbard, I'm at Mid-American Nazarene University. I have had the title of Defensive Coordinator here for the last 4 years. I'm just giving you a little bit of brief history behind me so you can kind of see where I'm coming from. Prior to that, I was the D-line coach here for 2. And then before that, I was at Woodland Park High School as a defensive coordinator in Colorado. And then I did 1 year at University of Northern Colorado as a D-line coach. My playing days were at University of Northern Colorado, and I was an All-American defensive lineman. The only reason I can get into that is because that's kind of how I predicate what I do in my 3-4 system. I am a 3-4 guy by nature just because that's what I played, but I've learned that through a 3-4 it gives me a lot more balance and a lot more ways to exploit offenses and use my best players, because I'm sure at high school levels and small colleges is about the same, where linemen, big linemen specifically, are hard to come by. When you find them, they're few and far between. And you can always find a lot of little skilled guys. Well, to get into this, again, ask questions as we're going. Coach Means will slow me down and ask them. But my title is 3-4 blitzes and pressures, when to use them, how to use them, and why to use them. So a lot of this first part of it is not going to be the stunts themselves. It's more the philosophy behind them and why to pressure. So we'll move on. I want to get a little bit into it because you're going to hear me talking about success, and I kind of want to explain what success is to me. Obviously, success on the football field is winning. Off the football field, at my level and at high school levels, you want to make impact on the young men's lives and lead them to greater things, whether it be, I'm talking more family and becoming greater men, becoming greater fathers. But ultimately, my job is determined by winning. Although that's the ultimate goal, it's how we achieve that goal that really matters. So if you look on that first slide, I got 3 main bullets with some smaller bulletins underneath them. make tackles. In my system, and I'd encourage any defensive coordinator out there, tackling is number one. If you can't tackle them, you're not going to be very successful. This past season, we went 10-2. First loss of the season came, and we had 145 yards after first contact. All that leads to show is that I didn't emphasize tackling enough. In all my playbooks and all my first meetings, tackling is the first thing I talk about. When we're talking about tackling, it's not always so much that the first person has to make the tackle. It's you got to gang tackle. You got to rep it out. You got to pursue, and you got to get there. So my next bullet is pursuit. When I talk about pursuit, it's an everyday talk from me to my players. It's the second thing I talk about in my meetings, and I don't mean pursuit, the ball's still in play. I mean pursuit from my nose guard. My 350-pound nose guard is going to sprint down on a 70-yard pass because you never know what's going to happen. I preach it every day in terms of you never know when that running back or that ball carrier is going to cut back. Better yet, you also never know when that ball is going to pop out. Not only do I preach it, pursuit is the one thing that never leaves the practice plan. I do it first thing, right after stretch. We come in, the guys know we're going to do a pursuit drill. My pursuit drill consists of basically just following a ball carrier. I don't have a slide on that. I have no problem drawing it up for you guys later if you want to see it. But it's basically just some sort of following the ball carrier and not going to where he's at, but going to where he's going to be. So pursuit's key, and it even comes down to my pregame speeches. I'll get into pursuit. My third biggest thing that I emphasize here is create turnovers. You never can have enough turnovers. Usually, not always, but the team that leads the turnover margin is going to win the ball game. I emphasize that. That's not always right before practice or right at the beginning of practice and, let's say, a turnover circuit. At times I will do that, but I emphasize it specifically during team drills. I set goals. Every practice I have a goal of 3 turnovers, and that's expected. They have to get 3 turnovers. If they don't get 3 turnovers, they owe me some sort of reminder. Our reminders, we call them pioneer reminders, and it's just every 5 yards they do an up-down for 100 yards. So at the beginning of practice, they owe me 3 pioneer reminders, and they can get rid of those if they get a turnover. Turnovers can be done for me in 9-on-7 or a team run drill, not 7-on-7 or a pass drill or team. They're not. I don't allow them to be done during 1-on-1s. I want it to be a team aspect. So doing that, I don't just say, hey, let's get turnovers. I go to my position coaches and I say, you're going to teach the art of getting a turnover. So my DB coach, he's talking about getting breaking on balls and getting picks, and then on top of that, he's also going to coach just like my linebackers, getting the strip, coming in there and punching the ball out, coming over the top, being aggressive. Again, second man in, that should be his focus, is getting that ball out. First man secures the tackle. So going on, turnovers is number 3. The next three little bullets you got right there, those are still things that I feel are needed for winning. You got to limit the gains. You got to limit what the offense can do. You're never going to stop them. They always have the upper hand. But if you can limit what they do, limit the yards, you're going to be much more successful. When I talk to my guys and I talk about coverage, let's say, I always say play deep to short because my personal philosophy is I don't care if they get a 5-yard pass. 5 yards means nothing to me. It's the touchdown that means something to me, or the 50-yard bomb or whatever it is. So I say limit what they're going to give. Give them something small instead of giving them something great. Do the little things right. That goes on us as coaches as well as the players. And when I talk about little things right, I'm talking about how you go as far as treating the players. Doing the little things right for the D linemen, making sure they get their footwork right, making sure they get their first step as a short, quick one if that's what you teach, or a big, long one, whatever you teach is good. But you want to make sure they focus on the little ones, or making sure your DBs are getting the 3-step, 5-step read if that's what they're doing, or whatever techniques you're teaching. You want to make sure that they're focusing on the little things, and the big things will come by themselves. Kind of reaching off a little bit on that same topic, one thing that I really focus on when we go into camp, into 2-a-days, the offense kind of dictates what type of reps I'm going to get. They're going to tell me the team reps, and that's basically because my head coach is the offensive coordinator. But when we get into the season, I know most high schools don't get this opportunity, but I get to determine the reps. And I am one that always is willing to give up a rep of team to get an extra 5 minutes of individual. And the only reason is because that's teaching the little things. That gives that position coach more time to teach how to break on a ball, how to read a pull block, or the little things. I always emphasize that we're going to win by coaching, not by game planning. And you're going to get a little bit more of that as we go into the 3-4 itself. And lastly, the guys hear me say it all the time, is be great. And I don't say be great, I say be great today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Today is our day to be great. And that's just a little bit of a philosophy of mine. Last thing is the most important when you hear about success, and I kind of touched on it when I talked about limiting gains, but I will talk to my offensive coordinator about this, my quarterback, the running backs, anybody on the field, including the defense, is I want you to give the defense another chance to make a play. That goes along the lines of, hey, they get a 5-yard pass, that's fine. I'm not saying I'm going to be happy about it. I'm not saying you're not going to get a little chew when you get to the sidelines because you messed up. I'm saying we have another opportunity to make a play. That goes back to my number 2 goal, the pursuit, or number 2 how to win deal is a pursuit. My big nose guard or my backside DN pursues and he cuts back and we make a tackle at the 5-yard line. Yes, it's a bad situation, but you gave me another opportunity to make a play. And my thing is with that is, limiting, not stopping what offenses are doing, is I figure that my defense is going to make a great play 1 out of 3 plays. Whether it be a big hit, tackle for a loss, a sack, even better, a turnover of some sort. But I figure that 1 out of 3 plays, I'm going to do something really positive. So I want to limit what they do in between those to get there. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide. Why I use pressures. In this speech, I mean, it's really geared to, hopefully you guys can pull 1 or 2 things from it, but I got it geared off of what I do, so a lot of it's why I use pressures. Not necessarily the right way, but it's my way, and I feel it's the best way that we do it. So why I use pressures, the number 1 thing, stop what the opponent wants to do. I don't care. Okay, let me just use an example. We played a college, and they were putting up 70 points a game on average, and my thing there was, I know they're going to score on me. What do I want to do? I want to stop the quick score, so they're not scoring 70. Can let my offense grind it out, and we'll make it the game shorter, and we'll end up winning. Well, we did end up winning. They were the number 1 team in the nation. We ended up winning 22-20 purely because they had the better athletes, but we limited them. That their coach wasn't willing to nickel and dime us to death. He had to take the shots. Just like I said before, 1 out of 3, we're going to make a pretty good play. So going on to that, kind of breaching off of that, stopping what opponents want to do, is I get into tendencies. When I talk about tendencies, all I do is coach football, so I have a lot more time in the day to break a lot of film down. Whether you're breaking 2 games, 1 game, but you should have a good feel of what the opponent wants to do, and you got to get some sort of tendency. So when I go into that, I'm going to break stuff down in down and distance personnel, hash and field position. I want to know what that offense does on 1st and 10 on the, maybe as specific as on the right hash, maybe as specific on the 20-yard line, or the -20 or the +20, whatever. I want to know, do they like to run a 2-zone? Do they like to run 3-step drop? Do they like to run 5-step drop? And I'm not looking for the average ones. 1st and 10, that's a pretty average down. Everything's going to be close to 50-50, maybe 60-40, unless you're playing a pass-oriented team. But I'm looking for those key tendencies where I can say, okay, 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5 to 7. I break it down in 3-yard segments. So 5 to 7, they have a huge sentence. They got 70-20 pass, and then that 70% pass, they like to run 60% bubble screens. Well, I'm going to call a play now to stop a bubble screen. They might catch me in something bad, but I'm going to stop what they want to do. I don't really care that 20% of the time they're running all goes or whatever. What I care is I'm trying to catch them in that 70% of the time when they're running bubble screens. So, maybe a kid jumps a ball and picks it and goes the other way. On top of that, when I pressure, I have two goals on top of stopping the play. And that's 1, to put pressure on the quarterback. So if it's a passing down, I'm only going to pressure if I can get pressure on the quarterback. I'm not going to, I'll get into it a little bit. I'm not going to blitz just to blitz. I'm going to blitz a guy that can get pressure on the quarterback. I'm going to call a stunt or a blitz to get pressure on the quarterback. Doesn't have to be a sack. I love sacks, but I don't talk about when I'm pregame speech or my chalk talk right when I'm installing. I don't talk about, hey, I want 4 sacks this week. I'm talking out when I talk to my guys. I want 10 hits on the quarterback a half. I want the quarterback to feel your presence and to be uncomfortable in that pocket. The sacks will come, but more importantly, the hits on the quarterback have to come. And the second thing is, if it's a running down, I want to blitz into the run. So that's when it comes into tendencies. I got to figure out, do they like to run to the left or the right? Do they like to run to the strong side, the weak side? Do they like to run to the open field or to the short side of the field? So when I'm breaking tendencies, if I can get that tendency, I'll definitely try to exploit that. Secondly, my second thing when I use pressure is I try to allow my athletes to succeed. Kind of breaking off on that, put my players in the best position to succeed. You know, I'm not going to put a little 5'2" corner on a 6'4" receiver and make him play man coverage because he's not going to be successful in that situation. I got to help my guys out. My job is to put my guys in their best position. So if I have a 5'2" corner against a 6'4", I'm probably going to 6'4" receiver. I'm probably going to have to high-low him. I'm probably not going to man him up and just let him play deep and make a tackle. On secondly, if I have a, let's say, you know, I run into it too where I have there's a key weakness in my defense. There's a key weak player. Maybe it's an outside linebacker, an inside linebacker. Well, I want to put him in a position to succeed. Can he blitz? I don't know. I mean, yes or no. If he can't, don't blitz him. There's no reason just to blitz the blitz. But if you can, or let's say, you know, we had a player that's really poor. You're really limited on your guys. You only got, you know, 20 defensive guys on varsity, and you only have one kid that can play outside linebacker, and he's not very bad. Well, what can you limit his faults and help him to succeed? So anyway, that's just a little bit of why I pressure. Why don't pressure? These are my common misconceptions about pressure. First off, it creates havoc. Yeah, it does, but it's if you're pressuring to create havoc, it's usually uncontrolled havoc. My havoc is in a game plan. Havoc in a game plan leads to misassignments. From your defense, if you're just pressuring the pressure, you're going to have a kid out of place. If you're blitzing 5 and 2 off a side, and you have someone replacing them just to create some havoc, you're going to have a weak spot. You're going to have a hole in your defense, and if that offense is good, they'll find it and exploit it. I create havoc through my coaching during individuals, through the time spent with the one-on-one players running drills, teach them how to properly rip or properly take on a lead block, that kind of stuff. I don't create havoc through my blitzes. I want to misconception is to confuse the opponent's offensive coordinator or quarterback. I don't want to confuse them because of the pressure itself. I don't want to say, well, they just brought 4 to a side. I don't know how to defend that. Well, if you brought 4 to a side, you probably got a hole somewhere. My thing is I want to confuse them through disguising, not blitzing. So I may show cover 3 but play cover 2. I may show cover 2 but I'm bringing 5 and playing cover 1. Whatever it is, I'm going to disguise and confuse through disguising. On top of that, you know, confusing the quarterback can purely be led just by hitting them, just by flustering them in the pocket. Aggressiveness equals success. Aggressive, you know, just to read it off there, achieving aggressive play through coaching, not playing. You know, being aggressive is a good thing, but it can also burn you. I personally rarely bring 6, play 0, mainly because you got one line. You know, whether it's a run or a pass, you got no outlet. What happens when that player does miss the tackle? What happens when that player doesn't hit the hole he's supposed to? I'm going to teach my guys to be aggressive through their individuals, kind of like I've been talking about this whole time. But me being aggressive on a defensive play call doesn't mean I'm going to have success on that play. That goes back to, you know, the game plan and the tendencies. My aggressiveness is going to come. I'm going to bring 5. I occasionally might bring 6, or I might bring 4. But that's not going to be my motto. Is he just blitzes all the time and he's aggressive. Well, aggressive defenses get burnt. Yeah, they might have success. You might have a higher rate of success than I do, and maybe make 2 out of 3 plays, great plays. But that one play they're going to make is going to burn you. And lastly, you know, it's because of what I do. I blitz because I blitz. I mean, I've said it probably 4 times already, but the worst thing to do is to blitz with no reason. You gotta be blitzing because I want to get pressure. I want to get so and so involved a little bit more in the game, or I want to get a hit on the quarterback here. But there has to be a reason, and it can't be, it's just because of what I do. And that's hard to defend. When my head coach comes up to me and goes, "Hey, you just gave up a touchdown. Why'd you bring 5?" And I go, "Well, it's because what I do, coach. I blitz 5 every time." And that wouldn't last very long. I have to have an answer. Well, and this tendency showed that they were going to run to the strong side, so I blitzed the strong side trying to stop that. They got lucky and hit me on the backside, whatever it may be. But my least favorite thing is when I hear coaches say, "Well, it's what I do. I blitz because I blitz."
Hey, Coach, I got a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it was from one of the previous slides, but Coach Merkel asked, what do you do to show your players the passion you have for football?
No, it's a good question. I do it because through my coaching. I'm going to be honest. Here at Mid-America, we're a Nazarene University. We're not going to cuss and we're not going to demean kids. But that by no means does not mean I get excited. And I'm an excitable character, and they see my passion through what I do. I don't go out there and say, okay, I'm gonna run around all day and go high five kids. No, I go out there and I run around because it's the excitement of the game in me. You know, you can do some. I do pregame speeches for my defense, and I do get very excited, and they know that I'm going to get excited, and they feed off it. But it's really done through me. Now I also coach my position coaches and be like, guys, I want you coaching. I want them to be able to hear you. Doesn't mean you have to yell, but you can't whisper. I want them to be able to hear you, and I want them to see the excitement. So that being said, every time now this isn't taught, this is just me. Every time my guys make a play, whether it's in practice or in a game, I'm celebrating with them. I'm jumping up and down, yelling, trying to give them a high five. That's not something I do because, hey, I want them to see the passion. I do it because, man, it's a fun football game's it's a game. Once this becomes not a game to me, once it becomes a job, there's a lot better paying jobs out there than what I do. So as long as it's a passion for me, I mean, they feed off it. And I will tell you, the biggest quality for a defensive coordinator, even a position coach, is it's not the X's and O's. It's the players playing for you. It's not that I can put them in the best position to be successful, but if they're not willing to run through a big brick wall for me, they're probably not going to be very good at it. So I hope that kind of answered that question.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Coach.
No problem. Keys to success for pressure. Did I skip a slide? No. Keys to success for pressure. When in doubt, play coverage. If I'm in a situation, let's use the 1st and 10 situation. The 1st and 10, they're 60-40, 60% pass, 40% run. And out of that, you know, they're running 2-zone and then 20% of the time, and they're running 23 counter, or they're running power bobbo, and it's just a whole mixture of things. And then on the passing, they're throwing some 3-steps, some bubbles, some screens. You know, they take a couple shots here and there. When in doubt, I'm going to play coverage. I'm not going to bring 5. Now, playing coverage to me still means bringing 4 most of the time. Not always. Sometimes I'll play an 8-man coverage and only rush my three guys. But when in doubt, I definitely play coverage. That being said, too, is you get in a no huddle and a hurry up, and you're kind of getting caught off. You know, me and my head coach, Coach Quinn, we sit down and he goes, well, when they do a no huddle or hurry up, does your safeties call? And I said, no, I call it. And my thing is, I don't do a complex blitz. If my blitz takes me 30 seconds to signal, I'm not going to call that one. I want to call a simple cover 3 or a simple cover 4 or maybe a 5 under 3 deep, something like that, just to let them, just to keep it simple. And on top of that, my thing is make the play when it happens. You know, I play coverage and I tell my safeties, my linebackers, my D-line, you might not have your opportunity this play, but when it is your opportunity, I want you not to be scared to miss the play. I want you to go make it. And I tell them that because when they do make a mistake, as long as they give me everything I want and as long as they're not making a mistake mentally, you know, they're going for a pick or something to give me everything, I'm not going to yell at them for it. I might correct them. I might come over and say, hey, you know, you needed to attack that upfield shoulder instead of going for the ball and then secure the tackle. But they know that they're not going to get their butts chewed when they get to the sideline because they went to try to make a play and they missed. Now, on the exact opposite, the one time that gets me the hottest and gets me the most fired up in practice or a game is pursuit. If I see a play happen and I look over and I see, you know, my backside corner walking, or John with the receiver or whatever, that guy doesn't even know because it's going to happen, but I'll be all over him really quickly, especially in practice. You know, game I kind of back off and let him play. But anyway, back to the bullet there, when in doubt, play coverage. It allows you to have a safety blanket. It allows you to make a mistake up front, whether it be a linebacker, D-line, or maybe a cover 2 corner or something like that, with a safety blanket in the back to make a tackle. Goes back to my success. I want another opportunity to make a play. So I'm going to play coverage, let my guys make a tackle, give me another opportunity to make a play because I figure 1 out of 3 I'm going to make a pretty good one. I've already said it, so I'm not going to hash it out anymore, but allow my players to make plays. Blitzing does not make a poor unit better. Now, off that, basically what I'm meaning there is if you are struggling on a defense, blitzing is not necessarily going to make you better. Proper blitzing could, but blitzing in itself, probably not. Maybe it's a group, a unit. Maybe it's just the linebackers. They're not good blitzers. Maybe it's your 2 outside linebackers. They're not good blitzers. Well, blitzing them is not going to make them great. Maybe your best opportunity, but you know, to maybe hide them or something. But it does not make them a great or a better unit. I already kind of covered it again, but poor athletes don't become great when they blitz. So I say that, but you can even one up and say, you know, poor rushers or poor blitzers don't become great when they blitz. You know, if they don't know the techniques, or if they're not fast, or you know, maybe they get really tunnel vision and can't branch out. You know, blitzing them does not make them a great blitzer. Next thing is identify who your blitzers are. This is what I do when I switched to the 3-4, because I was a 4-3 my first year here as a coordinator, and I was co-coordinator. And when I switched to a 3-4, I basically did it because I looked at me and Coach Clinton sat down and we looked at our roster, and he said, well, are your 8 best D linemen better than your 8 best linebackers? And I said, absolutely not. So why don't you go learn a 3-4? I said, okay. Went and learned it. So then on top of that, now when I am setting up my 2 deep going into camp, I'm going to find who my best blitzers are and put them where I like to blitz from. I'm an edge blitzer. I like my inside backers to flow and read. I like my edge blitzers to come off the edge. Now, that being said, 3 years ago, I went in and I had a safety who you know, couldn't play deep ball, but man, could he come off the edge, and he could hit, and he was tiny. He was 180 pounds, playing against 300-pound offensive linemen, but he had a knack for making them miss. And so I moved him to outside linebacker, and he played 2 years there and did an unbelievable job just because I identified the fact that he knew how to blitz. I had to get him in a position to blitz. But his last 2 years, I've moved him back to safety. Now that he's learned that you can't jump a hitch or something like that if you're a cover 2 safety, and he's done a great job there. But on the same note, I know he's a great blitzer, so I'm still going to keep him involved in the blitz package. All right, going to if you have an athlete that is bad in coverage, try to give you an example of that. In spring ball, we had an athlete who couldn't really understand our concept in our zone coverages, and definitely couldn't understand our concept in our man coverage. Because I'm not a true cover 1. This is your man. You know, follow him wherever he goes. I play a little bit what's called a pass-off man. I'm not going to really get into that tonight because it can be a little confusing. But I had a kid that he just really could not understand the coverage aspect of it. So I can't blitz him every time. If I'm going to do that, I got to put his hand in the dirt and let him be a D lineman. But I identified the fact that at least 1 out of every 3 plays, or maybe as much as 1 out of every other play, I'm going to have to bring him off the edge or bring him up the gut, or wherever he's lined up at. But lastly, and I say this because, you know, I got to say this to myself too all the time, is don't give up on a kid. Work at making him better in coverage, or working at making him better, period. That kid, you know, this summer our goal is to get him to understand the concept of dropping. In our zones, we drop the man. He needs to learn what man he's dropping to and what happens if that man's not there. So our summer, in our 7-on-7s, we're really focusing on, hey, what's your drop? Where's your key? What are you reading? I don't want to say, chalk it up. He's never going to be a great coverage guy. I'm just going to have to blitz him every other play. I'd rather it be, you know, 2 years down the road, say, look at it now. Now I have the option to bring him off the edge or play him in coverage. All right, moving on. How to create pressure. Kind of touched on it a little bit in the past, but blitzing does not always lead to success. It can, but it doesn't always lead. It can burn you. It can burn you bad. If you want to blitz, it's key to teach your athletes how to blitz. It's great to spend time on the X's and O's, but I spend more time in my meetings going over individual players saying, hey, coach, look, this kid, when he blitzes into a blocker. He doesn't attack an edge. He doesn't drop it. Whatever's wrong with that guy, I spend more time trying to coach my coaches up on how I want them to coach their players up. I'm in a pretty nice situation right now where I don't actually have a position, so I get to, you know, kind of encompass every single defensive player, and even if they're individuals, I'm walking around and trying to help that out. But key techniques: you got to blitz with a bad attitude. You can't, if you're blitzing, you can't waddle up there. You can't mosey up to the line and, you know, kind of go half speed. You gotta be pissed off. You gotta be angry. You gotta be, when you're blitzing, you gotta be going to do damage to whoever it is, whether it be a lead blocker, a running back, a quarterback. I'm not gonna. My corners get on me all the time. They want a corner blitz, and I keep telling them, I'm not gonna blitz you because you're gonna make a sack. I want the quarterback to feel it when you get there. So I tell my corners all the time, you make a big hit in a practice, and I know you can do it, I'll put a corner blitz in. But I want a bad attitude, and you know, kind of going off that. You know, the next bullet goes right off that. Blitz at full speed. It drives me nuts when I blitz someone and they jog it. or they're sitting there, they're jogging normally because they're reading or they're seeing flashes of other colored jerseys in front of them. And it doesn't matter. Just go. Just go. Great things happen when you go at 100 miles an hour. If you're going to make a mistake, make it at 100 miles an hour. Don't jog in and miss a play because you were too slow to get there. Go full speed, and then when you ever make contact, whether it be on a blocker or a quarterback, let them know you're there. Now, techniques-wise, I talk about, especially when you're blitzing inside the tackles or trying to cut an edge, you got to drop your hips. You can't be playing high, and then you got to get skinny. You give them both shoulders. Those big uglies up there in the O-line, they're going to grab you and hold you. And I know that our officials here don't call holding very often, so I got to teach them how to avoid that and not lead into blocking. But you got to get skinny. All right, this next point. Don't avoid blocks. Defeat blocks. That's more of a run situation. I don't want you to avoid a block. I absolutely do not want you to take on a block square, which is the coming up here in a little bit. But I won't try to avoid. I want you to defeat it. So I don't want you to step 5 yards away from the guy and run around him. I want you to rip through his outside shoulder or his inside shoulder, whichever it is. And then on top of that, anybody that I'm blitzing, I'm teaching techniques to. We're going to teach. I already talked about the hips and the get skinny, but we're going to teach rip. And I'm assuming you guys know what a rip is and a club, but I'm going to teach. Those are mostly D lineman techniques, but I teach it to my linebackers, and we'll do pre-practice where they'll do some hand fighting, just trying to learn that rip and that club. And then the last one is punch. I call it a punch. It's really a swim, but my thing with the swim is when you get your arm high, it gives that whole side of you available for that offensive lineman to put his helmet in or punch you or whatever. So I call it a punch where it just scrapes right over the top of their shoulders. And when I'm teaching those guys how to blitz, I don't want them to get good at one move and not have any other move. Say, okay, you got a good rip, but you got to have something else. You got to have a counter to what happens when you get caught. So that's when we get into those other three right there. Next is don't blitz to get blocked. The most frustrating thing is seeing someone that blitzes right into a square into the offensive lineman. I got a little inside linebacker. Then even though I say I don't like to bring inside pressure, I still bring it a fair amount of time. But if a no lineman or a fullback steps right in front of him, he likes to take the block on square. Well, that's only going to work if you're as big as that offensive lineman. If you're taking on a 250-pound offensive lineman and you're a 150-pound linebacker, you're going to lose every time. That's the nature of the beast. Weight's going to take it over. So use your attributes. Get an edge, dip and rip, club, whatever, but get around it. Don't avoid it, but get around it. That I kind of did this when I was a D-line coach too. When I'm explaining this part of it, I'll have one of my little guys get up, and I'm a big guy. I'm a big guy, and I have my little guy get up, and I go, well, how much do you think I weigh? And he asks, and I tell him I weigh 280. I said, is it better to take 280 on, or is it better to cut me in half and take 140 on? And then it makes a little sense to him, and it clicks. And I say, that's what I want. I want you to take 140 on, not the 280. Got to understand your role as a blitzer. This came from one of my linebacker coaches, and it's a pretty neat little saying, and I say it all the time now, is who's Pippen and who's Jordan? Who's the one that's got to go take on the block so the next guy can make the tackle? Who's the one that's going to pass it to the shooter, kind of, in the basketball terms? So in every blitz, even if it's just bringing one guy off the edge, one guy off the gut, one of those guys has to be the Pippen, one of those guys has to be the Jordan. Same thing when it's a run and you got a lead blocker coming on. Are you the Pippen or are you the Jordan? Well, in my scheme, if you're blitzing, you're always going to, and it's a run, unless I'm bringing 5 and you're an edge rusher, you're always going to be the Pippen, and you got to make it bounce. You got to make it go side to side. But I was having troubles this last fall, kind of getting that concept out of, who's there to open it up for the next guy, and coach said, well, it's Pippen and Jordan. That's a great idea. All right, we got to. Oh, I already got it open. We're going to get a little bit more. Go ahead.
I got a question if you have time, if you have a second.
Oh, I got plenty of time. Go ahead.
Coach Gorley asked, do your blitzers think about maintaining the gap responsibility as they make their moves, or can they go either side of the blocker within them?
All right. Well, that's a good question, and it depends. To answer that question as simple as I can, if it is a run, I'm a gap cancellation defense. They have to put their nose in the gap, and it may suck. They may have 600 pounds snatching. But if it's a run, they have to put their nose in the gap and make it bounce. If it's a pass, I do what's called pass rushing lanes. When I bring in 4 or 5, I draw it up on the board, I show them their lanes. I say if it's a pass, you now got freedom to avoid and maybe not go the B gap like you're supposed to. Maybe you're going A, as long as you stay in your lane. And if you get washed out of your lane, you have to get back into your lane. It also depends on who your players are. Let's see here. 2 years ago, I had an inside backer that was incredible, and I had that little guy that I moved from safety down to outside backer who's incredible. I gave them a ton of freedom because I know that even if they gave up gap responsibility, they're going to make the play. So I tell them, I'd go up to those two guys, not the whole defense. I went up to those two guys specifically, said if you're going to take an inside move or if you're going to go to a different gap, you have to make the play. But you're not going to get yelled at unless they get a gain. And then if they get a gain, you know that you're going to come over and you're going to have a little conversation with me when you get to the sideline. But, yeah, the simple answer, if it's a run, you got to put your nose in the gap. If it's a pass, you got a little bit more freedom.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, no problem. All right, this is a little bit, that kind of goes over when to use them and how to use them and why to use them. Now I'm actually going to go into what they are, kind of how I get into it and how I teach it. First off, when I'm teaching my 3-4, I have sides. The nose is going to be on both sides, but I'm going to have a strong side linebacker, a Mike linebacker, and a strong side safety, and it's one of my ends. It's going to travel together. We flip-flop. My calls flip-flop. But they're going to travel as a traveling party. My corners stay off by themselves. And then also I have a will backer, a weak side outside linebacker, a free safety, and then a backside end. So I'll get into that here on the next page. When you hear me refer to stunts to me are four-man pressures. It may be an inside backer, it may be an outside backer, it may be a safety, but I'm only bringing four. I'm going to bring one of those guys plus the 3D lineman. So when you hear stunts, that's what I'm referring to. When you hear dogs, when I refer to dogs, I'm referring to five-man pressures. I'm going to be bringing two linebackers or a linebacker and a safety plus a 3D lineman. And then when you hear me refer to blitzes, really what I'm referring to is six-man pressures, not 5 or 4. So this first little section, it's not my whole playbook. I just do a little bit in here, but this first section is about stunts. If you look here, I'm hoping that's big enough you guys can see it. But first, before I even get to the stunt itself, you can see what I call stuff. You see that my two defensive ends start. Can you guys see my mouse, Coach? Can they see my mouse? Coach Means?
Yeah, let me, oh yeah, there we go. Yep, I see it.
All right. I know I can draw on it too, and I might do that here in a second. But if you see here on the weak side, this is the weak side. I declare my strength to the tight end. And you'll see down here, if there is no tight end, I declare it to the multiple receiver side. But if you see right here, here's my weak side linebacker. It has a B on it. I call him a buck. Here's my weak side inside linebacker. I call him a will. And then here's my weak side defensive end. I actually call him a tackle. And I tell the guys, don't worry about the name tackle. It's just to specify exactly who it is, so they know, hey, I'm with that tackle to fire. I'm with the end to fire. They know who I'm talking to. And then I call my safeties a free safety and a strong safety. Then on the strong side, you got Mike, who's my inside back on the strong side. You got Sam, and you got End as my strong side end. And then you got strong safety on the strong strong side. So this first one, this is actually a clip right on my playbook. I don't mind it being out there. But when I do a stunt, I keep it simple because I want the thinking to be on me, not on the player. So when I do a stunt, I actually say, excluding the safeties, I actually say the backer's name and then what the stunt is. So this one right here is just Mike 3 Buzz. In Mike 3 Buzz, I've said the backer Mike. So I mean Mike right there, the keyword's hit. He knows that he's going. And then I said 3 Buzz. 3 Buzz is the coverage. I didn't say any stunt in there. Mike knows if he hears his name with no other word, he's hitting his natural gap. Well, in my system, the natural gap for my inside backer is a B gap. Even though my nose is not technically a 2-gap player, he'll always go away from the stunt. I'll get that here a little bit. In my playbook, I get real detailed because I want those guys, when they're at home, to be able to go, oh, what do I do in this certain situation? Well, they can go to the play. What do I do in Mike 3 Buzz? They can go there, and look, I'm an end. I got C gap, and I got contain rush. Okay, so now I know what I'm doing. But in this stunt right here, you can kind of see my adjustments. I don't always play 3 Buzz with this. It's just what I did in my playbook. Not to really get into coverages too much, but as you see as I go through these stunts, I'll have 4 different terms for cover 3. I actually tell which safety is going to roll down and where he's going to roll down. My safety always replaces the blitzer because I don't want to be unsound. If I called, Mike, well, Mike's easy to be sound. I'll get to it when I get Sam's. When I get to my outside back, it's about being unsound. But right here in Mike 3 Buzz, he's just in his natural gap. That strong safety is going to roll down and replace. So in teaching this, I'm going to teach that inside backer how to blitz and how I want him to do this, just like I told Coach Gorley. If it's a run, he's going to hit that B gap. If it's a pass, he's got a little freedom. He can go A gap now. But then I teach my D linemen, you are pass rushing when I call a stunt or a dog, specifically dogs. But when I have some pressure coming, I don't want you to think of I'm a run stopper. I want you to think of I'm going to tackle a running back on the way to the quarterback. So right here in Mike 3 Buzz, my nose always, no, that's incorrect. My nose, 50%, no, 90% of the time is going to go away from the call. So the nose, in that terminology, Mike 3 Buzz, he knows, okay, Mike's going, he's on the strong side, I'm going weak A. Then the end of the tackle's they have to actually learn what the stunt is. But you can see right there, you got your 4 under 3 deep on the page. In this page itself, on all these pages you're going to see I have the same formations drawn up, but they can see what their natural drops are. To kind of get into that, go off this first slide right here. I dropped him in, like I said. So even though the arrow's right here dropping a curl to flat, he's actually going to drop to the curl at number 1. Anytime you see 2 words, that means that's the second word is his secondary responsibility. Yes, he's a flat player, but he will always rally up to the flat. He'll never jump anything in the flat. But anyway, I really want to get to the next slide because it kind of gets a little bit more into it. We'll get there. Mike exit 3 Buzz. Like I said, I'm going to tell the linebacker or the safety who's going. I'm going to say their name, and then I'm going to call the stunt itself. Well, in this one right here, you still got the same coverage 3 Buzz, but you got Mike exit. One other thing that I probably should have touched on right before I even started on the playbook part is my calls. I always make it goes formation or front, defensive front, stunt, or dog, and then the adjustment, and then the adjustment to the dog or stunt, and then the coverage and the adjustment to the coverage. So you got Mike, 3, Mike exit, Mike's the stunt, X is the adjustment, 3 is the coverage, Buzz is the adjustment. You notice I don't have anything there to say the defensive formation. Well, this is Okie. Anytime I don't have anything that's declaring the formation, means we're going to base out of Okie, which is just your base 3-4. So when Mike exit 3 Buzz, I actually use this tag with all my stunts. Anytime they hear exit, they know whatever backer's going there, going to exchange responsibilities with either DN, whichever one's involved. Well, it's a strong side blitz and Mike exit 3 Buzz, so that gives that keyword to that end. Okay, Mike exit, I know I got to fire. I got to shoot that B gap. I'm a blitzing backer. I'm going to get pressure, and that Mike's going to come right off my hip and get penetration. The coverage itself doesn't change. The responsibility for that roll down safety, that strong safety, doesn't change. He's an A gap player in the run. To kind of touch on that too, one thing that I teach with my safeties when I roll down, if you see everything out here is drawn out of a cover 4 front. Safety is going to be about 12 yards deep, 10 to 12, and the corner is going to be 7 to 8 yards deep. I'm going to have my safety roll down to 8 yards. The reason 8's the magic number, for any of you offensive coaches out there, you know that, well, maybe you guys are different, but here in the heart of America, those offensive linemen will not account for anybody that's 8 yards deep in their primary read. They may get there eventually, but if that safety rolls down to 8, that guard and that center is not going to account for him in the formation, and he'll get a clean run on that running back. One thing to touch on a little bit, this is more of a defensive philosophy, but as you're adjusting for formations, there's 2 ways that I teach and that I believe in. You can either always show the same base alignment 100% of the time. So I either always show cover 4, or I'm always going to show something different. So 60% of the time, I'm going to show something that I'm not running. So I'll show cover 3, I'll show cover 2, I'll show cover 4, and I'll run something completely different. And then 40% of the time, I'll actually show what I'm running. So one of those 2 philosophies has to run. Well, when I'm teaching it, and the 2 days, I do it out of a base formation just because it's easier. So anyway, responsibilities for everyone else does not change, excluding for the Mike and the end, and the exit is the tag that gets there. The next 2 stunts are just the opposite. So one other thing in this 3-4 defense, if I have on one side, I got the exact same call for another side. In my stunts, it's not going to say Mike exit, it'll say Will. So Will 3 fly is the exact same call as Mike 3 Buzz, except for it's now the Will backer going and the free safety is now replacing. The techniques stay the same. That nose guard is going to, he's going to be penetrating on the weak A, and the tackling end are going to be coming off the edge doing contained rush and being C-gap players. One other thing that I kind of, when I talk about this, that nose guard in all these stunts and all these dogs is really key. Not so much that he has to be your best player, but if you can get a big wide body guy there that can actually collapse the pocket on top of whole point, that's the key to success for this 3-4. If he can hold point and keep the nose and the center and the guard off my backers, and then on top of that and pass, crush that pocket, and not let that quarterback step in, you're going to have a lot of success. So this is just like Mike, like I said, this is just like Mike 3 Buzz. 3 fly is the tag for the free safety. Fly means that free safety is going to roll down on that middle hook on the weak side. Will exit 3 fly. Just like Mike exit. Exit is a tag that goes with any stunt, any stunt with any backer. It's just all it does is says the end the chain of responsibility with the backer. Someone will exit. It's just the will coming off the edge there in C gap, and the tackle is coming is firing. You know, one thing I wanted to go back and show, because it's not going to show on this slide, is right here on Mike exit. Look right here on this trips formation. When there is no tight end, it doesn't change that responsibility of that Mike. You want to really emphasize not getting wide because there's no tight end for him to hit that C gap. You really want to teach him coming tight off that end and trying to come clean and get pressure on the quarterback or the running back. But then on the other hand, when he does have a tight end in there, he really needs to know that there's a good chance he could get double teamed, or that tight end might see him and come off and try to block him. If you guys want me to go over alignments at all, I can, but you can kind of see them from this picture. One other thing to talk about, you hear you got Scotty and Pippen. I'm sorry, Pippen and Jordan. In these stunts right here, my D linemen are my Pippins, and my backers are my Jordans. Now that being said, I don't want my D lineman to go, okay, I have to get blocked by this tackle. I want him still to get penetration, but in the scheme, the backers here are the ones that are going to create the pressure. All right, Sam 3. These are my outside backer blitzes. Sam travels with Mike in and strong safety. So this is just a strong side outside linebacker coming off the edge. Doesn't matter whatever you declare, whether it be, I'd encourage, if you're designing a 3-4, to have sort of keys like this. You as a coordinator know which guy's coming off the edge and where you're going to create pressure. That way if they're running strong, you got a strong side backer coming. But in Sam 3, the responsibilities change just a little bit, mostly for the coverage. But if you look right there on that top slide, Sam's coming off the edge. That end actually has to fire. And it says the end is second. That doesn't need to be there. I don't know why it is, and I apologize for that. But the end's going to fire. You don't have to wait for that Sam to clear or anything like that. But that Sam's going to come off the edge, and what I really teach him is to come tight off that hip, off that tight end, and then go to quarterback's depth. You want to attack the up the shoulder of the quarterback as you're coming off the edge. That way he has to step up into the pocket. Hopefully it's getting collapsed by the ends and the tackle, and it's firing in the nose tackle. And if he goes to quarterback depth, it steps up, and you don't lose contain. But again, the one adjustment that is, I don't know if it's apparent, but I have an extra gap there. The C gap on the strong side doesn't have a backer to control it. My Mike has the strong A, my Will has the weak B. Well, that strong safety, again, rolls to 8 yards. He has to check that C gap to make sure it's not a C gap run. If it's an outside run, a stretch, or a toss or something like that, the strong safety and the buck, both are going to be forced players. So he has two trajectories. That's why I keep him deep again. That way, he has time to read and react. If you are having troubles with the guys not blitzing, the backers and the inside backers specifically, one key that I always talk about is you can help yourself out a lot with depth. My base is 5 yards, but if I got a guy that's struggling, getting caught up in all the trash and can't flow, I'll back him up to 6. I probably won't give him to 7, but I'll back him up to 6. You guys can kind of look through that formation, real quickly, and you can see the adjustments. One thing that I struggle with in the outside backers is they like to show the blitzes. I don't like to show the blitzes. I don't like it when they get up there and cheat. So that you can see, I have in that trips formation, I have the Sam walked all the way out on the number 2 receiver like he normally is. He's gonna be a little bit later. I understand that, and I'm okay with that. Then I'm just probably not going to call this on a three-step drop by the quarterback. I'll try to get him on a 5-step, or really it's a good run-stopping stunt.
Hey, Coach, I got a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Coach Taylor asked, do you declare which of the safeties will replace, or is always the blitz side?
I do declare which. Two answers. Yes, I do declare which safety is going to roll, but it is always the blitz side. So the replacing safety is always on the blitz side. If it's cover 3. Now, if it's cover 2, obviously I'm not replacing. But I'm always going to replace with the blitz side safety. But I also tell them. So that's why I'm going to just flash through some of these slides. Like right here, it's Sam 3. Cover 3 means the strong safety in my play, but cover 3 means that strong safety is going to roll to the curl or flat on the strong side. Well, if you go back here, 3 fly, it's on my free safety, he's going to get hooked. So the key word is that fly, the no fly here in Sam 3, or you go back up here to the 3 buzz, is the buzz. So there's 4 of them. There's just cover 3, There's buzz. Those are the two strong safety ones. The free safety ones are fly and flip. You'll see flip here in a second when I get to buck. But yes, I do declare. And the reason is here, let me get back to Sam. I talk about being sound. I'm not going to blitz that outside backer and not replace him with the safety because then I don't have a force player. So I'm not going to play cover two off of Sam. Now I do have a version of cover two that I will play it with an edge blitzer. I didn't get into it here. I have no problem. If you have questions about that, you can email me about it, and I'll tell you about it. But it's kind of complex, and I didn't want to spend 20 minutes talking about one coverage. But you see right here on Sam 3, I'm never going to call Sam cover 2. If I was, it would be on a short side of the field. I've done that 1 year. I did not have great success with it. I'll just play cover 3 if I'm going to bring that Sam off the edge, or my other version of cover 2 that I haven't really got into. But yeah, did that answer that question?
Yeah, thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, so there's the Sam. Well, just like I said, now you only saw Mike exit, Will exit. I have 5 stunts, and you can tag them wherever you want to have a stunt where you can get that Mike to the A gap. You want to have it where you can get them to the opposite A gap. And I have keys and I have rules to all that, but I knew I wouldn't have time to get to all that. But here I just wanted to make sure I got you guys a little bit of actual stunt. So here's Sam exit 3. Again, that word exit, the tag exit. All it means is the ends we're changing responsibilities with the Sam. So on Sam exit 3, all it means is the end's going to now go outside and the Sam's going to come all the way down to B gap. This is a great inside, you're getting some 2-zone or some dives. This is a great stunt to kind of get that outside backer involved in the inside run. On top of that, if it happens with my college all the time, offensive line to chase when they're playing man protection. Well, chances are that guard's not going to be there when the Sam gets there. You're going to have a clean run right up the gut. Shortest distance to the quarterback is right up the middle. So I enjoy using this one. I probably don't use it enough. Technique-wise, that ends first. If you see on that slide, the Sam is second. That means that end is going to get as much penetration as fast as he can. He's not going to avoid the offensive tackle. He's going to rip through that outside shoulder. He might club rip. He might club punch. He might just flat out bull rush that outside corner of the tackle. But he's going to get as much penetration as he can so that Sam can come second down to B gap. Again, changes responsibilities. I showed in that Sam 3 where if they had a tight end, that strong safety had to be a C gap player. Well, here he's now a D gap player. And actually, this is actually better for the strong safety because now he's not doing a little bit of uncomfortableness and getting down in the box. But one thing is you gotta keep it simple, and you gotta teach those safeties, understand what stunt's being called and what gap you're going to have if you're rolling down. My backside safety, the free safety, is a deep third. He's not going to have anything. He's going to stay deep as the deepest. But give me a second, look through those slides. They got all the adjustments. But really, again, another thing that this is one reason I love the 3-4. I'll give you 2 reasons I love the 3-4. One is the hardest thing with the 4-3 is when an offense balances up and goes 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and goes to true ace, two outside receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back, and balance you up. Well, it's really hard to balance yourself up. In a 4-3, you're going to be a little weak there. Well, here in a 3-4, it doesn't matter to me. I'm already balanced up. Same thing. If an offense comes out and does shifts, motions, all that stuff, it doesn't really matter to me. I already got my skill positions out on the field. I got more linebackers. I don't have to worry about rolling and changing adjustments and coverages and all that. If the offense runs something, and I'll get this to the tendencies, if they run something that, let's say, a stunt doesn't look good against, I won't call it. I'll just take that out of the game plan for the week. But here, Sam and Sam exit, they're always in the game plan because they're good calls. Well, one other thing you can see on that bottom slide in these cover 3s, and I hadn't pointed this out, is that backside inside backer. Again, I dropped them in basically because he doesn't need to go cover that patch of grass out there. There's not going to be any man out there. So right here, this Will is actually going to drop off at number 3. He's coming vertical. If he comes vertical, he's not. All my underneath guys carried it 10 to 12 yards. Buck 3 flip is just the opposite. Buck coming off the weak side, and the free safety's now replacing. Just like I think it was Coach Taylor was saying, I'm telling which safety is going to replace, and I'm replacing the blitzer. So on Buck 3 flip, the Buck's going to come off the edge just like Sam did in Sam 3. Now the tackle's going to fire. One thing to be said, though, is I got guys that have been in my system for 3 years now, and they know that if I call a buck, they don't even need to listen. They just need to listen for the tag, buck exit, or whatever. They know what coverage I'm going to run behind because they know can't run buck 4. So if they only see buck 3 out of my signal, well, they know it's 3 flip. But I always signal 3 flips because I want them to, I want the new guys, the younger guys, and maybe guys that aren't as experienced to understand which coverage is being called. Not going to get much more into this one because it's just the opposite of Sam. Like I said, I have a Sam, I have a strong side outside linebacker blitz. I'm not the opposite. I have a buck. When you talk about game plan and what I'm going to call, well, most offenses are going to run to the strong side. They're going to run, unless you overload the strong side and leave yourself really weak on the weak side, they're going to run the strong side. So when it comes to game planning, Sam and Sam exit, I'm calling this against the run. Buck, 3 flip, and Buck exit 3 flip. That's a great pass rushing because you don't have that extra block over there on the tight end. Buck exit 3 flip, again, it's got that tag word, that exit, so that Buck knows he's coming down to B gap, and that tackle knows, okay, I heard the exit, it's an exchange for me, I'm gonna go upfield. You can call it whatever you want. I mean, that doesn't matter. So this is just my terminology. All right, that's all I had for the stunts. I don't know how I'm doing on time. Coach, how am I doing on time? Do I have a little bit of time to get into these?
Yeah, and we have a couple questions too, if that's okay.
Ask the questions.
Yeah, Coach Roost asks, are the inside linebackers, wait, let me see here. It says, are the inside linebacker are at 5 to 6, and Buck and Sam 3 by 5 in base?
No. Now, is that the end of the question, or was there more?
No, that's it.
Okay, no. Yes and no. My inside backers, their base alignment. So go off of this top slide right here. Their base alignment is 5 yards deep. 6 if they're having troubles getting in the mess of it, and they're going to be stacked over the guards. And this right here is a balanced formation to me. My outside backers here, their alignment's going to be different. Kind of get into the rules there real quick. If they have a tight end with no slot, they're going to be in what's called a solid technique. Depending on the coverage, if it's cover 3, they're going to be a little looser, 1 yard deep, 2 yards outside. If it's cover 2, they're going to be tighter. They're going to be, 1 yard deep, but maybe head to shoulder because I want to really bang it and make it bounce to my corners. But that's their base alignment if they don't have a slot. On the backside, right here with the Buck, when he does have a slot, his alignment is actually head up. And the reason is he's a force player. I don't want that slot to have a chance to seal him. Now he's getting a read here. Buck's a bad example. Let me go up to Sam. Right here on right here on this Buck, he's head up. He's going to get a read. He's reading that in-man in the line of scrimmage. If he gets a down block or a run read, now he's got to do what we call a triangle read. So he's going to go from the tackle, got your run read, get to the back. Is the back a high hat or a low hat? Is he running outside, toss stretch, or is he running inside? If he's running, if he's running inside, that Buck now has a clear lane to come inside the slot and make a tackle. If he's running a toss or sweep, now I'm in position to work over top this slot and keep a force position, make it bounce back, force it back into my help over here. So there's your base alignment. If you go down, get back to that Buck 3 flip. If you come down here to where's the tight end in a slot, everything has to boss over. I'm not going to allow the offense to out-formation me. I'm not going to make adjustments and audibles and all that. I am going to make adjustments. I'm not going to make audibles or checks or anything like that. My adjustment's simple. We're going to shift over. So now my Sam is going to do what Buck did when he had a slot. He's going to shift over. He'll be head up. I didn't go over depth. Depth is dependent on what the alignment is of the slot. Is he on the line? Is he off the line? If he's off the line, we'll be at 5 yards deep. If he's on the line, we might get up there and press him. I give that freedom to them. But base alignment is 5 yards deep if he's not on the line of scrimmage because of a tight end. But still on the second slide, if you look right, oh, there's my mouse, there it is. Right here, if you look right here, he's head up on the slot, so he's in a forced position. What happens is my mic and my will shift over. If you notice another slide, the slide right here, how they're head up on the guards, well, here they're shifting over. I will never, not never, in a normal formation, which is not quads, a 4x1. Anytime it's not a 4x1, they'll never get outside the tackle on pre-alignment. So he'll shift over, get more head up on the tackle. That way, if you do get a high hat, we got flow rules to get up into there. Second thing, my will's going to boss over. He's still going to stay on his half of the ball. So he probably won't cross that center, but he's going to boss over a little bit. And then my buck back actually tightens down. He won't be in the box unless I make some different formation call stack or something like that. My buck backer will not be in the formation. He will just tighten down the box at, say, 5 yards deep still by 2 to 3 yards. Because he's still a force player. You can't get sealed by that tackle. But I want to get him in the run. If they run an inside zone, that he's my cutback player. He's got to be filling up right in here to get that cutback. Did I answer it?
Yep. Great. Thanks, Coach. Coach Taylor asks, when bringing outside stunt versus trips, have you switched to stunt inside, especially if you had another coverage besides 3 called?
I don't make checks. I'm not going to let you get in the trips and dictate to me what I'm going to call. If I want an outside pressure that's coming from the trip side, usually it's going to be a run. I'm a weak side pressure guy. If it's a pass, basically because of what you're thinking there is, well, that Sam's got a long ways to go. So I'll call the weak side blitz, and I can still play the same coverage. But I don't check out of stuff. Basically, and the reason is my call may not be the very best call for that play, but it's a much better call if everyone knows what they're doing than if we check and 10 of the 11 guys know, and that one guy that doesn't is the backside outside linebacker, and they run for 80 on me because he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't check with them. So I don't do it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. When I was in a 4-3, I did it. I did do it, but it just causes so much confusion. If I'm going to have a check, it'll be one. I can't say I don't ever have checks. If teams come out in quads, I have a check, but and I've had it a few other times just because they have such a big tendency when they get in this certain formation to run something that I know this stunt or dog is going to be better at. That we'll check into that. The only check I ever run on a regular basis is for pass rushing purposes, and that's if I can determine when the back's on one side, they're going to slide away from the back. It's always better in pass to blitz the back, not blitz the slide. So I want to get a one-on-one with a running back and a linebacker, because I'll take that bet any time that my guy's going to beat him pretty quick. So what I do there is, like here, buck 3 flip. I won't call buck 3 flip, but if I wanted to go against I don't have an offset back. I'm not going to. Let me see if I can draw something real quick here. Let me find that. Where's that option? Where's that Coach Means? Where's that option to draw? There it is. I found it.
Yeah, it should be a yellow pen right there. Yeah.
All right, so right here, let's say on this situation right here, this running back's actually right here, and this is the quarterback right there. I know that they're going to slide away from that, so I called Sam 3 check. Well, a lot of offenses will flip the running back depending if they can figure out the switch. So I got to figure out the blitz. So I got a Sam 3 check called. They come out, and the running back shifts over, is not on the Sam side, so he lines up here, and here's the quarterback. All everybody's going to be yelling is check, 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 check. That's all they yell, check. Everybody knows, because I game planned it. I told them on Tuesday or Monday, if that's when your meeting is, that you hear check, we're checking from Sam 3 to buck 3 flip. And all it does is checks down to buck 3 flip. But I really hate checking, just because you get your guys confused so quick.
All right, thanks, Coach. Coach McGee asks, are your inside linebackers keen guards or backs?
Guard 2 back. They're getting their first step off the guards. On top of that, they're going to get a pull read off the guards. So they're going to get their first step off the guards, whether it be a left or right step or downhill. And they're going straight to the back to see if it's a high hat, low hat. But I also say that because if we get this right here, let's say I just do a simple counter. Well, they've added an extra gap over here, so I got to account for it. So both of them are reading their guards. Well, this guy's going to get this read right here, and then this guy's going to get that read right there. So naturally, this guy's going to step here. Well, what I teach is he's going to see that puller, so he's actually going to come over the top. He'll get his miscue because now he's going from guard to back. He will actually come over and fill, and now I've covered up my gaps. So I read guard to back, high hat, low hat, that kind of deal.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach.
Were there more questions, or should I continue on?
Nope, that's it. That's it for right now. If you want to keep going, you're more than welcome.
Okay, let's go. Let me get a little bit in these dogs. I know we're a little over our hour, but if you guys got a few more minutes, we'll get into these dogs. Again, dogs are 5-man pressures. So I have tags. I have 5 different types of dogs. Really 6, but 5 main ones. I got strong and weak. Those are the 2 tags. I have I, that's a tag. O, that's a tag. U, that's a tag. And F, that's a tag. And so all I'm doing is telling what backers are going. We'll say we're a strong and weak dog. Anytime you hear the word strong, these my 2 strong side backers are going. So my Mike and my Sam are always going in strong. So in the strong slam's just a keyword to tell what the actual dog is. Well, in the situation, it's 2 off the edge, and my end's long, sticking down to the A gap. But the strong is the key. The strong is the keyword. That tells who's going to go, and then the slam's the actual stump. Behind it, you see all the T's. Don't worry about that. You can play cover 1 behind this. Your base cover 1. Next February, I'll actually talk about the covers that I play behind this, but it just takes too long to talk about. But the keys with this stunt right here is that the real key is that end and that mic. That end has to do what's called a long stick. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, that means that end's got to cover 2 gaps. Really, this drawing's drawn wrong. He needs to come flat, get to the A-gap, and then get upfield. This Mike, this is a time, because the Mike's going to want to go and he's going to run into that end every time. This is a time where I go up to that Mike and say, hey, take a step back, or you have to wait. So if he can't not wait for that end to clear, he's got to take a step back to 6 or 7 yards, and that way he can go right now. But he wants to come as fast as he can off that end's butt. The main reason is until you get to maybe major college or a really good O-line, that tackle is going to chase that end all the way, so I don't want him to get caught up in the mix. On top of that, run responsibility is a B-gap player. Sam off the edge, he's just my force contained player. Again, everything has the hold on a second. Everything that's called on one side is called on the other. So you got strong slam here. I got the exact same opposite on the weak side. So weak slam. So all it is, I'm just changing tags to tell those guys who to go and how they're going. So the weak's the tag, slam is the stunt. Now I'll play whatever coverage I'm going to play behind it. But there it is the exact same stunt. Those tackles now have to come flat, or you can call mins or whatever. The only thing that's messed up here is that Will should be going right here. Again, missed that. Just redrew my playbook in Playmaker Pro, from Playmaker Pro to PowerPoint. So I have a few errors I got to fix. But again, that's weak slam and strong slam. I have bunches and bunches of blitz on the strong side of the strong weak dogs. I only did 4 in here. The next one is strong dog. This is just a natural gap blitz for everybody, but the end's going to fire. And the reason the end fires, this is a good run stopping defense. I'm trying to clog up the middle, make it bounce outside to either that Sam that's coming off the edge or the strong safety who should be replacing. But this is a strong dog. No one has to wait for anybody. Everybody can just go. One thing wrong with this is it's not very hard to pick up. If it's a pass, chances are the offensive line is going to pick you up, and you're going to be hoping your coverage can hold. But if it's a run, this is pretty good. Let me go back up to these slams. I also love the slams against the run, except for A-gap runs, except for like dives. But if it's a zone or anything like that, that long sticking tackle creates a ton of confusion within their blocking schemes. 1 gap's not so hard to pick up. 2 gaps, pretty hard to pick up. Weak dog is the exact opposite. Again, it's just a strong and weak concept. It means the weak side backers are coming, Buck and Will. I'm going to kind of buzz through these so we can get through them in a meaningful time and then answer any questions you guys have. But these are my U dogs. U means the opposite backer. So 1 inside backer, 1 outside backer, but they're on the opposite side. So in U, bam, it's the Buck and the Mike. And the way I determine this, they're going to have to memorize what bam means and where they go. But I can tell which 2 outside backers are going. So in my U's, I have the 2 backers going in the name. So B and an M and bam, that means the Buck and the Mike. They got to learn what bam means. You saw it's the exact opposite. I got in every single stunt I do. I got it the exact opposite. Saw is the opposite of bam. So Sam and the Will. I dogs. I stands for inside backers. So anytime I call I, it'll be the 2 inside backers going. I only got 1 slide for this, just because it's one of my favorites. I blast. This is good, especially if your inside backers are great blitzers. It's good for the run and the pass. I mean, yes, it's just man for man, but I'm going to take if you got a good inside blitzing backer, I'm going to take him any day over a 300-pound wide-body guy that doesn't have lateral movement because, it turns into a pass. They can go down to A-gap. Now, the only responsibility here is the nose is the hard part. You've got to teach them what you want them to do. You can either have them 2-gap, or for me, I always send them to a side. It changes week to week. My basis, he goes strong, but changes week to week dependent on what it is. Now, I had a really good nose guard last year. It was 350 pounds, like I said, and he could crush both gaps, and I told him an eye blast, and he's just going to go straight up the center and try to crush both those gaps. But this is good for short yardage, anything like that. Nothing real fancy, just kind of smash mouth football when you don't have time to get a lot of pressure. Maybe it's their 3-step inside run team. Well, this will make things bounce. Assuming your backers can blitz. Don't just call this because it's a good blitz, which it is. Your inside backers still got to get the job done when they get there. If my Mike sucks at blitzing, I'll never call this. I'm only calling it if he's good at it. That'd be great. Yes, be good. O stands for outside backers. I got 2 here, and it's really the only 2 I have. Because the reason I only have 2 for this is it's really hard to get a coverage that's good against this. Now, if I'm playing a team that's 21 personnel or possibly 12 personnel, this blitz is great. But if they're going to go 2 backs in the backfield and 1 tight end or maybe 1 slot, these 2 O dogs are great because it's easy to make an adjustment. But if you look down here on this bottom slide, when it's a 3x1 and I got an lightning called, well, I'm pretty much screwed on that trip side if I'm going to try to play man coverage. I got to walk that inside backer out of the box, and my base rule is my inside backers don't leave the box, unless it's a quads. But this is O lightning. Backers come off the edge, outside backers come off the edge, tackling in, firing. The next one is O thunder. It's just the opposite. Again, it's still the same concept. You got one, you got the other. Well, this is kind of like a buck exit and a Sam exit put together. It's not kind of, it is. But again, it's great against 21 personnel. Maybe these two, you're facing a triple option team or a wing T team. We got pressure coming off each edge. You don't know which way they're going to go, that option. These two are great. This I'd run if they're killing you on the dive. This would be good against the dive. This if they're killing you on the option itself, you bring pressure. So, well, that is it. I went over, and I thank you guys for sticking with it. Hope you learned anything or take something if you wanted, and if you don't like any of it, that's okay too. But I'll answer any questions. I'll stick around for a little while and answer any more questions you have. But other than that, kind of wraps it up.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that, and that's some great stuff there. No questions right now. We've been asking. Oh, no. Coach Gorley said, thanks, Coach Hubbard, great session. And then Coach Minnick asked, can you talk about 3 under 3 over coverage?
Say that again. 3 what?
3 under 3.
3 under 3 over. Sure. Let me get up here to one of these other. Get up here to this one. Let's go this one. 3 under 3 deep. 4-3, we ran it quite a bit. I don't run it because you got to give up something. Let me actually get to a different deal here. I got some diagrams I can kind of draw on a little bit easier. I'm just going to use X's so I can draw kind of fast. But 3 under, 3 deep. So you got your inside backers, corners. Hopefully these X's mean something to you guys. And the safeties. I'm not going to draw the D-line just to save some time. So usually in the 3 under 3 deep means you're bringing 2 off to one side, whatever the blitz is. In this situation right here, you got to give up something. I encourage you to give up the short pass. Worry about the deep stuff. In this situation right here, I would not be dropping them in. I would be dropping to space. If you drop them in, you don't have enough to cover men. So in a 3 under 3 deep, you want to keep that same rule of the safety replaces the blitzers. You can tag it. I'd probably use different tags than your 4 under 3 deep, just because it's different responsibilities. At least it is for me. But you can tag it, flip or fly or fluke or whatever you want to do. But you want to tag it. That way, that safety knows he's going to roll down to the curl. Now, I would put him. If let's say here is your numbers. I'd have him drop to the numbers about 10 to 12 yards deep. Allow these guys, the 2 blitzers and the 3D linemen, to take care of the run as well as the pass rush. And I'm going to be late to the run, going to 3 yards deep. Inside backers, doesn't really matter what formation they're doing here. If they're in a balance formation, actually it doesn't matter. If they're in a balance formation, I'm going to open up, drop to the middle. If they are in a 3x1, I'll have them open up to the trip side. The backside is going to be the exact same. He can get a run read, but he wants to drop again to the numbers 10, 12 yards deep. Safeties and corners doesn't really change. They're just going to be going deep. But that's your basic rules. Is you want your outside backer and your safety to drop to the numbers, maybe just slightly inside, but definitely outside the hashes, and then playing the quarterback, trying to keep everything in front of them, making the tackle in front of them. Deal with 3 under 3 deep. You want the pressure to get there before the coverage can break down, because it's going to break down.
All right, thanks, Coach. Coach Siedenberg asked, what is your opinion on playing the defensive end head up on the offensive tackle?
If they're big, head up is, well, no, I take that back. Let him answer this real quick. Let me ask him a question. Is he talking 2-gapping, or is he talking stunting? Shooting 1 gap.
Yeah, Coach, if you could, he said 2-gap.
Okay, 2-gap. The 2-gapping, that's incredibly tough. I don't know what school you're at or what type of line you got. I tried it when I first put in this 3-4. I tried it specifically with my nose guard. You not only have to be big, because you gotta be able to hold point when you're taking on an entire offensive lineman. You got to be pretty agile enough. You talk NFL terms. Pittsburgh Steelers are a 2-gap 3-4 defense, but they got some hosses up front that can hold point. I don't have the hosses. If I had it, and they're not real good pass rushers, then I would do it. But when you 2-gap, you're limiting the pass rush from those 2 guys. On top of that, you were asking a lot out of a young man. You know, if you're a high school guy, and let's just use Colorado since that's the high school district that I coached in. The offensive linemen there weren't incredibly big. You know, they're 200, 215 pounds on average. Maybe they're 250 now. I don't know. So if you had a defensive end that's similar in size, similar and maybe a little bit better athlete, it's possible. It's a hard technique to teach. It really, really is. If I ever get blessed to have the lineman to do it, I would do it. I almost had the opportunity. I almost had my hand forced at it this year, where I had 3D linemen that I thought were going to be all three 300 plus, not real good movers. I was going to teach them the technique and hope it all worked out. But it worked out that you know, my guy that came off of injury, and he's a smaller, quicker guy, so I didn't have to use the 3 big wide body guys. It's good, especially if your backers, you know, talk to the NFL, James Harrison, you got to have an outside backer that is dominant. You got to look at the Dallas Cowboys, DeMarcus Ware. You got to have an outside linebacker that's dominant. On top of that, those guys, basically what you're doing in a 2-gap is you're saying my 3D linemen are going to keep these 5 offensive linemen from getting up. So it's kind of a vague answer. If you can do it, it can be very effective. It's very hard to teach, and you got to spend a lot more time on teaching it. Where if you're shooting gaps, and you still control it, you're not necessarily shooting and getting penetration. You're still hand placing on a guy. In my scheme, but you're controlling a gap like you do in a 4-3. Basically, if you go back to my stunt page and you put everyone up where they end up, it's a 4-3, but they're starting out in different spots.
Thanks, Coach. That same coach said we play our guys head up with the C-gap responsibility. Is that terrible?
No. I mean, let me get out of this slide. If you look, right here, all my guys are lined up, and you can see the shade that they're lined up in. My ends line up in C-gaps and play it. The problem with playing head up and with C-gap responsibility is they have to work the C-gap. You can get washed. If they're trying to hold point and you're working from head up or inside, let's say working head up to outside leverage, you can get washed outside because your momentum's already carrying you that way. If you teach proper technique, it can be done. Or if they're just penetrating that C-gap, it can be done as well. That's why when my guys move gaps, like when this tackle right here fires, he's getting penetration because I don't want him to get washed. I personally wouldn't do that unless I was alternating which gap they were going to, just because I don't see the advantage in it. But it's not necessarily a wrong technique. I just don't see an advantage in playing head up, starting head up, but playing C-gap. I think you're asking your D lineman to do more with less, where you can just line them up in the C-gap. It's okay, now you're a C-gap player. And then you can set up the opportunity to fire. But it's not necessarily, the answer, it's not wrong. It's not asinine. It's just something, being a former D lineman, if you're going to put me head up, don't send me the same gap every time.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. Coach Siedenberg also asks, what are your defensive ends' key reads when playing outside shoulder of offensive tackle?
They don't get their eyes in the backfield. The O-lineman's their read. The O-lineman's going to take them to everything. He down blocks, work right off that hip. Then they'll look to the backfield. If it's play away, they're going to check boot or reverse before they crash hard. If it's play 2, they're going to get their eyes to the running back. But they're reading the shoulder of the tackle, basically looking to see if it turns towards them, comes at them, or turns away, and then they're going to let that block take them to it.
Thanks, Coach. Coach Gorley asks, going back to alignments, are your end and tackle in 5s or 4s? If you have a long stick, do they move down a little?
I don't. Here to answer that question, if they got to go 2 gaps and they're not fast enough to get it, let's start with it first. They're in 5s. I do have a call where I'll put them in 4 eyes. 4 eyes, which is inside shade of that tackle, for me, is an incredibly hard technique to play. It is also in the run, messes up offensive blocking systems. So if I'm playing a run team, I'll put my ends in 4 eyes and let them bounce everything. But I also have to understand their pass rush is going to be terrible. Shoot, I already forgot what the second part of that question was. What was it?
Well, I accidentally deleted it. Coach Gorley, if you could send back the second part of that question, that'd be great. Yeah, actually I took it off before.
I should have remembered it.
Yeah. I don't know, but we could. Let's see if he'll Okay, he says, do they cheat down when they
That's right. Answer that. They can cheat in. The offensive linemen really aren't going to notice if you're shoulder to shoulder, head to shoulder. I wouldn't have them cross the midpoint unless I'm calling that technique. The way to get away with it is you cheat them back. Don't cheat them back a yard. You cheat them back 6 inches, and they'll get there every time. You kind of teach, when you're teaching that technique, you teach them back to cheat back 6 inches, and then you teach it like a pulling guard. Have them open that hip, throw that leg. It's basically 2 steps down, plant that foot, and get upfield.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. Coach Corley also asks, in the gap shoot mentality, do you have a depth aiming point for your, looks like your nose, end, and tackle? And you said by aiming point, I mean depth, like heels of O-line or what?
Yeah. Let me rephrase when they're shooting gaps. They're only shooting gaps if they're involved in the stunt. I should have been more clear on that when I did it, and I apologize. So right here in this right here, the tackle's the only penetrator. He's going as deep as he can get. The nose and the end are treating just like a 4-3 heels depth, 1.5 yards, 2 yards deep, until they recognize run or pass. But if they get too deep, they're going to create lanes. And only on the blitzing side is that dude just trying to wreak havoc.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. Some of the coaches asked if they could possibly have your email address. I don't know if you're willing to give that out. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, or I guess I can type it out. Let me go to this other slide and type it out.
Yeah, if you're able to, you might be able to just pull something up. Or you could do
Here, I gotta.
Yeah, there you go.
It's plhubbard@mnu.edu.
All right, great. And then Coach Call has a question here. He asks, what is your base alignment versus empty?
The base alignment is the same. Excuse me. Same alignment as everything. Now I'm going to boss over. I'll give it a second longer for you guys to write that down. I'll come back to this page in a second. Let me get that PowerPoint slide though.
Yep.
There we go. Let's just. Oops. I want to do that. Let's see if I can just get an empty formation here real quick. I lost my circle. There we go. You know what? That's going to take me too long. Let me go. You can see I'm still not very proficient with this PowerPoint. Let's just do this right. Oh, dang it. Whoops. Now you can see the adjustments I was making up there. Yeah. I want to get to a stunt page, so I have a bunch of guys going. All right, I'll just do it off of this right here. All right. Base alignment. Does you want cover 3, cover 2, just base alignment out of every coverage?
Coach, if you could clarify 2 or 3 or any coverage, that'd be great. Let's see if he answered. Oh, he said cover 2.
Okay, I'm going to delete these lines. Oh, you know what? Let's fix that again. One more adjustment, then we'll start talking. I'm going to go to Mike Blitz, or Will Blitz. This will make it easier. Okay, I'm going to erase all these lines, and I'll draw them in. Oh, no. It'd be a lot easier if I was drawing this up on a grease board. All right. Let's make this make it big. Okay. Oh, shoot. I lost the, there it is. All right, normal alignment is going to be basically like this. This inside backer is going to shift to the edge of the box. I'm still going to keep him in the box. He might be outside shift with that tackle. Sam's going to stay normal alignment. He's going to actually be inside leverage of number 2. My corner is actually going to be outside leverage of number 1. Same on this side. Inside backer, inside leverage, outside backer, inside leverage here. From this, ignore these things. From this, my base alignment, even him, he's going to boss over to the middle of the formation, away from the 2 receiver side, even though he's blitzing, and then we drop off him in. So he's going to wall number 2. He's going to drop to 3 to curl. He's not going to chase him if he runs an out, but he'll drop like that. He'll wall number 2. He'll force, and then the corners force the number 1s in. So if that, let me erase that a little bit and draw a little bit better lines. If you can see, I'll just draw these lines. He's going to shift over to the edge of the tackle. Outside backers stay the same. Inside backer shifts over. Safeties may adjust a little bit, but you don't need to adjust a bunch. Those lines are adjustments, but corners should be a little bit more outside too. So that's their alignment. Does he want? And I kind of went over drops too. You're going to drop 2 men. Yeah, they got 5 receivers. You got 5 defenders. You know, you can just I drop to each receiver. If he leaves your zone, you yell in, out, and let him go. Biggest key here is this guy cannot get outside releases, and then all of them have to be collision. You don't want to let them run around free. Give your guys time to make a play.
All right, great. Thanks, Coach. You said that looked good, so perfect. Well, hey, that's all the questions we have this evening, Coach. I really appreciate your time, and I know the coaches want to log down here. I appreciate your time as well. Is there anything else you want to say before we log off here this evening?
I appreciate it. I hope you guys got something from it. Good luck this season, and that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach, and thanks, everyone, for coming. Hope to see you guys attend our webinars next week. We have 3 webinars next week. I know unless you're looking to defend the wing tee, we have a webinar on Monday, June 25th, and with the let's see here, it's transitioning from under center to the gun and the wing tee by Coach Paul Cornwell from Aiden Griffin High School, North Carolina. So looking forward to that, and I hope you guys having a great summer, and we'll talk to you soon.